What is it like to live in your own head while encased in fear? A friend gave me a message tonight, and now I give this message unto you. There is nothing louder than a quiet room when you don't trust yourself anymore. You ever sat in a room so quiet that you can hear your own heartbeat and you hate what it's saying to you? Hey, this is Snowman, and this is Diary of a Mad Snowman bonus episode. Tonight's chapter: Living in Your Own Head While Encased in Fear. This is for anyone who has ever stared at a calendar, made big plans, and then made bigger plans, and then promised themselves and their family, in this case, the world, and then watched fear walk in, put its feet on your coffee table, eat your snacks, and talk you out of your own damn life. You know by now there's an apology sitting out there in the world with my name on it. I gave a piece of it to a friend of mine who goes by the YouTube name of Rising Rhino. I put a poll out there asking which game should I do tonight. Should I do the NBA doubleheader or should I do the American Conference Championship? And one response led me to this. He said, quote, or option 3, another no-show. And I froze. I froze and I wrote him an apology. I wrote an apology that I put in a newsletter. But now you're going to hear the rest of it. The part that doesn't fit in neat paragraphs and pretty sentences. Because apologizing isn't just, hey, y'all, Snowman here, and it's my bad. I didn't even get that far. I didn't allow myself to get that far. When you've been living in your own head, encased in fear, apologizing feels like pulling a confession out of concrete. Here's the truth. I've scheduled shows and have never gone live. I've hyped up games and events and then gone ghost. I've said, we'll be there, and then I wasn't there. And for a long time, I told myself stories to cover that up. I'm too tired. I didn't feel well. The tech didn't work. I'll make it up next time. A lot of those reasons were real. Health is real. Exhaustion is real. But the core of it, at the deepest part, fear that I'd fail. Fear that the numbers wouldn't show. Fear that the dream was too big for the man trying to carry it. So that apology that some of you have seen and most will see in the newsletter, that's just not me saying sorry for the missed streams. This is me admitting publicly and loudly I've been letting fear live rent-free in my head. I've been letting past events that put me in this fear live rent-free in my head. And it's been overcharging everybody else. My family, my crew, my audience, my wife, but most of all, especially me. Here's what fear really sounds like. Because if you've been living in your own head, I promise you know this voice. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, "Hey, man, what if nobody shows up? What if you go live and the numbers are embarrassing and you prove some people right? What if your voice cracks? You make a mistake and they clown you for it? What if you fail again?" Sometimes fear doesn't say, "Don't do it." It just says, "Not today. Not today, big man. You're tired. You've been through a lot. You deserve a break." You know the slick part about it? Fear borrows off language from self care to sell you self sabotage. For the last 2 years, I have been its number one customer. Now, mix all that with my story: pancreatic cancer, organs taken out, toes amputated, blood clots, wheelchair, diabetes, doctors on top of doctors on top of doctors, hospital stays because of the toe amputations, hospital stays, visits to wound care, even cost me my car. Fear walks in, looks around, and says, "See, you ain't got to push. You've earned the right to quit quietly." And if you're already in your head, which is where I've been until tonight, you've earned the right to quit quietly. You start nodding along like fear just preached a Sunday sermon. Fear tells you that quitting is protection, that hiding is healing, that delaying is wisdom. But there's a moment, a quiet, terrible, freezing moment when you realize you have been protecting yourself from the very life that you say you want. That's when the room gets real loud, not from noise, but from the echo of opportunities you've let pass. And boy, I have let a lot of them pass. A lot of them. I've been so inconsistent with everything, with the big plans that I've had. It's not even funny. I've been so inconsistent. And it frightens me that I've been this inconsistent, especially because I've had to do more games in house and here in the house instead of being out and around. So I've let a lot of opportunities pass, given everything that's happened since 2021. So, what does it mean to be living in your head? Let me paint this picture. You're in bed the night before a show. You've got the rundown in your mind. You're visualizing the opening, the intro, the reads, the calls. You see the chat popping. You hear the crowd in your imagination. In your mind, you're undefeated. But that night, that same mind starts rolling tapes from the past. The stream that crashed, the show you were late on, like I was this morning, the comments somebody made that stuck in your chest like a knife, which has happened so many times over, the schedule you posted that you didn't stick to. And Lord knows I've been guilty of that for the past 4 years. The folks who believed in you who might not anymore. which is my biggest fear that I'm tackling right now. Suddenly you're not in tomorrow's show anymore. You're in last year's failure. Or from in my case, the failure you've repeated and have relived for the past 4 years with every stream that crashed, that failed, every broadcast that went wrong, that went sideways, even when equipment went afoul of what you were trying to do. Living in your head is when yesterday's wounds have more authority over you than today's opportunities. You lay there replaying, rewinding, re arguing with ghosts in your mind. I should have gone live. I should have done better. I'll fix it tomorrow. I'll prove it later. And I've said every single one of those things so many hundreds of thousand times just in the past 4 years. The mind becomes a courtroom, and you are the defendant, the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury all in one. And you always, always, always find yourself guilty. Now, pair that with fear. Fear says, look at your track record, Snowman. You're not consistent. Look at your health. You're fragile. Look at your age. You're not 25 anymore. Look at your mistakes. People remember. And Rising Rhino, my brother, thank you for reminding me and giving me a swift kick in the ass about it that I know I've needed and have had coming for a long time. If you stay in that loop long enough, you start agreeing with the prosecution. You just don't say, I'm scared. You start saying, maybe I'm just not that guy anymore. And yes, I have said that. I've cried. I've lost sleep over that. Maybe the dream's a size too big. Maybe the stage is for somebody else now. Maybe the time has passed. That's what living in your head while encased in fear feels like. It's not always panic. Sometimes, and in my case, it's erosion. Your identity slowly worn down by your own thoughts. Your identity eroded from your own thoughts. Here's where it got real for me. You can hide from a live stream. You can hide from a schedule. You can hide from a tweet, a graphic, or a video. But there are faces that you can't hide from. For me, it's Jody, my wife, my children, my crew that depend on me, the people who have been riding with me through surgeries, setbacks, canceled shows, and comeback promises. And then there's you, listening, reading, watching, waiting. I've had to look in the mirror and admit, Snow, you just haven't been afraid. You've been unreliable. That's a hard word when your whole identity has been built on I'll show up. Play by play man, talk show host, content machine, the dude who is always on. But fear turns always on into might be on, and might be on breaks trust. And I broke it. I broke the hell out of it for a lot of people. So this apology that's coming out into the world, it's not just about me feeling bad. It's about me owning that my fear had consequences for other people. I didn't think about that. I honestly didn't think about that. When I no-showed a game, it wasn't just a missed stream. It was a fan sitting there with popcorn ready. It was a crew member rearranging their time. It was a sponsor thinking, can we rely on this dude? It was my wife watching me promise and then collapse. That crushes you more than fear itself. And I can't tell you how many nights I've cried over it. Because now it's just, I'm scared I'll fail. It's, I'm scared I am the failure. But let's draw a line here. Fear is not proof that you're a failure. Fear is a signal that you care about the outcome. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be afraid. The problem is, and my problem has been, when fear is driving and responsibility is shoved in the trunk. This season of my life, I'm putting responsibility back in the driver's seat. Not because I have stopped feeling fear, but because of one sentence I finally understand, and I am breaking the cycle. The people who believe in me deserve more than my excuses. They deserve my effort, especially on the days I don't feel like it. Rising Rhino, BGS Ibmore, Charles Faulkner Jr., Play by Play with JJ, the Big Dog, Shane Lake, Victor Locke, Genevieve Yoso, Napoleon Johnamite, A. Pizzle, Alex Putnam, Allison Moran, Deb Whitkus. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. They deserve my effort, and many more that have subscribed to my channel. Now, before we get to the turn, I have shut down the Snowman Sportsnet YouTube channel. I haven't shut down the division, but I've shut down the YouTube channel. I've let it go dormant. I needed to. I was spread out all over the place. I'll talk more about that at a later time. So, what do you do when you're living in your own head and wrapped in fear like a blanket that got too heavy? You do something simple and brutally hard. You act before you feel ready. You schedule the show and then you run it. You promise the episode and then you hit record. You write the apology and then you read it out loud. You put your name on the line and then you live up to it. Not perfectly, not instantly, but intentionally. The first two put me in the fear that I wouldn't be perfect and the result wouldn't be instant. The third part, I'm back to that. Intentionally, doing this intentionally. I had to sit down and say to myself, man, you got organs missing. You got a body that's been to war. You got scars from top to bottom, but you still have a voice. You still have a mind and you have a calling. Fear doesn't get to cash the final check on your life. So here's what I've started doing, and maybe this will help someone that has been there. Name the fear out loud. Here are a few of mine. I'm afraid the fans will leave me. I'm afraid the fans won't forgive me. I'm afraid my family won't forgive me. I'm afraid they won't show up. I'm afraid I'll screw all this up again. When you name it, it shrinks. Monsters thrive in the dark. They hate the light. Tell one safe person the truth. For me, some goes to my crew. Some goes here to you. But those of you who know me and have known me, you know where a lot of it goes. It goes to Dr. K. When you say I'm scared to somebody who loves you, they don't always have to solve it. Sometimes they just remind you of who you really are. Commit to one non-negotiable. For me, this is the non-negotiable. If it's on the schedule, and I'm looking at this calendar on my left-hand monitor, if it's on the schedule, I show up. A meeting, an interview, a taping, a batch recording, all of it. Uh, Doing a lot of filming tomorrow for Snowman Learns to Cook on a Budget. My wife gave me the suggestion 7 years ago, and she put it in this sentence: if it ain't on the schedule, it doesn't exist. And that is so true. And that began with me putting on the schedule the Big Ten championship that I am going to call on Saturday night, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Indiana Hoosiers. That means I get prepared. That means I get my notes. That means I start reading. That also means I take care of the house like I promised my wife I would, and I get more consistent about it. If it's on the schedule, I show up. That doesn't mean I don't rest. It means I rest around the commitments, not instead of them. And I redefine winning. The old me thought winning was numbers, views, reaction. The new standard is simple. Did I show up like I said I would? Because if I do that long enough, the rest will take care of itself. That means the donations will come in, the equipment, everything. But it's got to start with me showing up. It has to start with the most simplest thing: me showing up. Me showing up for Ohio State and Indiana. Me showing up for Georgia, Alabama, should they play again. Me showing up for Indianapolis, Jacksonville. Me showing up for Sunday Night Football. If it's on this calendar, it's going to happen. I missed 2 meetings today because I was sitting here in my office coated in fear, and I was sitting in my office with a fear of the unknown, and I didn't do it. And in actuality, I missed 3 things. I am proud of myself that I did reschedule 2 other events. When I felt the fear coming, I rescheduled it. I let them know what's going on. I am proud of the fact that I did not reschedule a doctor's appointment that I put on this calendar this past Wednesday. I am so happy of that I kept that. And I am so happy that I'm doing this right now. It's all about showing up. It's all about walking the walk. Or as my friend Lorna says best, it's all about talking the walk and walking the talk. You all have heard me talk about it. Now it's time to walk about it. So let me land this plane. Living in your head while encased in fear isn't a life sentence. It's a season if you choose to walk out of it. And walking out of it sure as hell doesn't look glamorous. It looks like small, unsexy decisions. Going to bed earlier so you can actually make the show. Drinking water instead of drowning in caffeine and sugar. And a health update is coming. Pressing go live when your brain is telling you don't you dare. Keeping the promise nobody else will know about except you. My apology. This episode, my apology that's in the newsletter, that's me turning the key. This episode, this is me stepping on the gas. Not just for you, but for the man in the mirror who needs to rebuild trust with himself. My dad always said to me, you can fool a lot of people, but you can't fool the man in the mirror. Because the real hell of living in your head is this. You stop believing your own word. And the only way you get that back is by stacking new evidence. one kept promise at a time, one finished show at a time, one honest episode at a time. And that for me includes editing and getting clips out there and distributing it also because I don't have an editing team at my disposal, at least not yet. So if you're listening to this and you've been hiding from your own calling, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not your last no show. You are not your worst decision. You are not the sum total of broken plans and missed starts. You are what you choose to do next. I'm going to say that again because I need to hear it from myself to myself again. You are not your last no show. You are not your worst decision. You are not the sum total of broken plans and missed starts. You are what you choose to do next. From this moment forward, I choose to show up scared, tired, imperfect, but present. Not just in my content, not just on the mic, but in my marriage, in my fatherhood, in my friendships, in my health, in my own mind. If fear wants to ride along, cool. It can sit in the back and watch me drive. I am he that is the snowman. And this has been Diary of a Mad Snowman, bonus chapter, living in your head while encased in fear. If you're fighting this battle too, I see you, I believe you, and I believe in you. Now let's go build the life we keep seeing in our heads out here where it counts.